Watch this, see? I'm still holding it, right? Hasn't moved. It disengaged, turned off by itself. This is probably like the 8th time or somewhere around there since it's done that. I don't know how many times it keeps disengaging. So I'm still holding it, still going, disengage.
Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're talking about this Milwaukee M18 Fuel dual battery 21-inch self-propelled mower. This is the mower that everyone's been waiting for. Most of the Milwaukee people have been waiting for. It's finally here. We've had a good chance to use it over the last 3 weeks. Got a lot of good maintenance modes on it, maybe even some beginning modes and some scalping in some areas. But anyways, long story short, we're gonna go over this tool top to bottom, and then I'm gonna tell you why it's not ready for prime time. Stick with us. All right guys, so this right here is the Milwaukee M18 Fuel mower. It is model number 2823-20, and currently it's only sold as a kit for most authorized retailers for about $1,000. It's pretty ridiculous. Some people are gonna, balk at the price of that, but it does include 2 HD 12.0 batteries. But long story short, I'm not talking to that pricing part later. So people have been waiting for a mower because Milwaukee has, a bunch of OPE tools, but they don't have a mower to complete the system. And they may have been trying to engineer certain things here and there, so I'm not sure if it's official, but a long time ago, it was rumored that Milwaukee pretty much said that they're not gonna do anything that requires more than one battery, like a dual battery system, right? Like Makita has popularized, now even the scale power core stuff is getting popular. Long story short, I think they pretty much went back to the drawing board and said, that's not really gonna be possible with the mower. So on this mower, they did do that. It uses 2 M18 batteries. It is an M18 tool, but you do have to use 2, so it becomes a 36-volt tool. You cannot do anything with it with a single battery. It won't mow, it won't self-propel, you can't do any of that. You have to have 2, okay? And like I said, because it's a high-demand tool, you kind of really need the high-output batteries. You probably wouldn't want to use it with anything lower than the XC high-output 8.0. You could probably get away with the 6.0s if you had that, but you definitely don't want to use anything that's not high output. And that's primarily one of the reasons why you can only buy it as a tool and only buy it as a kit and not tool only. If you bought like $1,000 mower and you put like 2 5.0s in it, you'd be pretty upset that it's pretty mediocre, right? So because of that reason, I think they're only selling it as a kit for now. Eventually, time may tell, they'll probably come out tool only, but they really want people to see the raw power and everything coming in from it. So anyways, long story short, let's get into the marketing hype, and then we'll bring you in closer and take a better look at it. All right, so let's start with the controls up here. This is pretty much the safety lever. You cannot do anything without engaging this, okay? Well, technically you could turn the lights on and stuff like that, but anything that includes motion you can't do, right? So this right here is a variable speed or self-propelled mechanism. It is variable speed. That's really nice. We're gonna talk about that. This is the power button. This is your self-propelled speed band selector, right? It'll go all the way from 1, which is turtle, all the way to rabbit. And I do have a few concerns about this. It does slide pretty well, so over the long term of things, with all the vibrations and moving around and stuff, I'm not sure how well this is going to stay in place where you select it. That is a concern that was immediately brought up. This right here is what they call high lift mode, aka full power mode. So if you engage this, it's pretty much going to run at full power the whole time, and the blade's going to spin, maximum speed the whole time. There are probably a few times you want to use that. Otherwise, the turning it off will put it in automatic mode. So if it runs, it's going to operate at a lower RPM, and then when it runs in some resistance, it's just going to ramp it up. This one just makes it ramp up the whole time. If you're picking up like leaves and debris and stuff on the grass that you're trying to vacuum out with the mower, you may want to engage that, but it will reduce runtime quite a bit. This right here is the light button. If you press it once, light LEDs will come on. Press it again, LEDs will go off. There's not too many mowers on the market that have a lot of LEDs. There are a few with LEDs, but I'm going to go ahead and say people are not going to be mowing in pitch black darkness with this. But where it becomes useful is if you start mowing and then the sun goes down, you just need to finish up a little bit. It's going to run pretty well for you. So now going back to the safety bar mechanism, right? So the safety bar, like I said, you can't do any motion with it without engaging that, right? So let's go ahead and say, watch, nothing. Did you see how quickly that ramped up? That's also a little bit of power they talked about earlier. Self-propelled, can't do anything. You got to engage it, and it goes. All right, so let's talk about the variable speed part of the safety bar, right? Or the self-propelled. So here's speed 1, right? You can run it a little bit, right? Let's go to 3. I need to go through all 5, right? Let's go to 5. I'm almost always operating in 5. I mean, I could generally walk pretty fast, but sometimes, you know, through heavy grass, you may not want to, and that's where some of the variable speed comes in handy. Anyways, we're gonna drill back into that in just a little bit. All right, so this right here is obviously the left-hand side of the mower. Let's talk about this real quick. You know, it's got these things that you got to put together almost like all push-type mowers really do. It's got the storing mechanism handle fold down. It's a pretty quick adjust type thing. A lot of mowers do have that feature, except the Makita XML08. They call it more commercial brand, and the handle is not designed to fold down all the time. This one does, okay? Here's a spring that really helps with a single lever height adjustment cut. We'll drill into that side when we get to the right part. But the other thing I want to point out on here, as you can tell here, it has a bigger wheel on the back and a smaller wheel on the front. That's not uncommon. Some mowers will do that. There's a lot of mowers that use, you know, pretty much the same size wheel on all sides. This one has, you know, larger back, smaller front. This deck here is pretty solid metal, as you'd expect from Milwaukee. It's got LED light right here, and you know, on this side it's going to sell Milwaukee Fuel. Okay, this right here is the lid. We can talk about that in just a little bit, right? Handle here. Other than that, on this side, that's pretty much it. All right, so now let's talk about the front here. Handle here. These two things right here are LED lights. I'll turn on for you, but you probably won't be able to tell because it's light. As you can tell, it generally works pretty well in the dark, but you know, right now in the light, it's not going to be of that much use. This part here is all plastic. Other than that, on the front, it doesn't look like there's too much going on, but let's talk about the design for a bit, right? So this design makes it look like there's something coming down from this, aka motor looking thing, even though it's really just housing batteries, to the front. So just by looking at it, you're going to think it's probably like a front wheel drive motor or a front wheel drive mower. It's really not. It's a rear wheel drive mower, but the design of it, I think they try to make it look really aggressive with like this grill and everything up here. It's all plastic, but you know, it's not, there's nothing really going on in here. Maybe some wires for the LEDs and stuff, but you know, just want to make you know that it's not a front wheel drive mower. It is rear wheel drive. Now let's talk about this design of this motor housing or battery housing, right? So if you look at it, you're gonna think, and I think Milwaukee did this on purpose, you're gonna think that this is a single battery mower. I mean, just look at it. You would think that you just pop this open, drop one battery in, but it's not. And I think they did this design on purpose to make it look like it's gonna be a single battery mower, mainly because, like I said earlier, they said they pretty much did something they said they'll probably never really do, using multiple batteries on a tool. In this case, they figured out you can't do that with a single M18 battery, so it does require two, but just wanted to point out this design makes it look or stray strangers away, people who may not be too familiar with it, into thinking it's a single battery design. Lift up this lid. This lid is spring loaded, and it's got these raised edges all around. I think that's mainly to get that water rating they have. I can't remember what it is, like IPX4 or something like that rated. We'll have to look it up. But pretty much the rating that they got is the tool is supposed to be able to operate with a stream of water from all sides. And because of this raised lip and this cover and the way that it works, it does do that pretty well. We did use, you know, a hose to wash it off quite a bit, but I will go ahead and say a little bit of water does get inside of the battery bay, but there are weep holes in there in order to let the water out. But in all reality, I don't think anybody's going to be mowing in the rain. There may be some people mowing in the drizzle, as you know, they're finishing up their mow, and it just started drizzling, but you know, not too many people are going to be mowing hardcore in the rain with the battery powered mower. So let's talk about this. Like I said, it is spring loaded. It will come down pretty hard, and on the back here, it will put a sticker in here that says requires 2 batteries. Okay, 2 batteries required. That way you don't try to do anything with one. With one, you can't really do anything, okay? All right, so this is the right-hand part of the mower, and as you can tell, it's pretty much almost exactly the same as left-hand side, except it's got this cable coming in here for all the controls that go up there. You know, it's gonna be pretty standard because all the controls are up towards the bar, and this is the single lever design system, or single lever height adjustment system. This right here is an LED, right? The single lever adjustment system works pretty well, goes all the way from 1 to 7. Right, you know, we go over a lot of bumpy terrains and uphills and downhills and stuff. Hadn't had any issues with this, you know, sticking out. It is a little bit softer or easier to move than some of the other levers I've seen before. So I think maybe in the long run over the course of maybe a couple years, you may see it skip if you're like bouncing around or whatnot. But you know, just want to point that out because the notches in this metal are not very deep, is what I would call it, right? All right, so while we have you here, let's go ahead and talk about the back here. So this right here is the flap. We can go over that more in a second, but this is the back cover. So as you could tell, as we went over both left and right side, there is no side discharge like a typical mower would on this, right? On a tool like this, it kind of has like a similar Toro type design where they have a back discharge and then it discharges off. But the other thing to note about this is with the rear side discharge, it actually discharges off to the left instead of to the right, okay? That's going to be something to be worried about, but other than that, all this stuff here is pretty standard. So this right here is the side discharge, or the rear discharge as some people would call it. On like a normal or a more common mower that has a side discharge on, you know, one of the sides, this follows more of like a Toro design. Toro does this pretty well. They have a lot of mowers that shoot out the back and then off to the side. To engage this, you pull this in. See these two arrows here, they line up to the two arrows back here. You hook it onto the plastic up top here and then press it down, and then no problem. So it does work actually really well. And in terms of, I thought it would probably get annoying if I was walking fast or whatnot, it really doesn't do that. It actually kicks the debris back far enough that, you know, it's not really a problem. But I did want to mention, you know, this entire engaging mechanism here. See this entire thing is plastic, not a single piece of metal on here. This entire piece back here is also plastic. So, you know, in the long run, I'm not sure how well that's going to hold out, but, you know, it may be a problem. But for now, it works fine. So now let's talk about the bag. Pretty standard bag, you know, got a handle here. Bag works pretty well. In order to hook the bag on, you open it up, clip it right here, put it down like that. It's all standard. I mean, that one is nothing new. If you used no more before, that's going to be pretty normal. So let's talk about this bagging system. So this mower actually fills the bag really well, almost too well, I would say. So in a couple sessions when I was mowing it up, one thing I noticed was it's almost difficult to tell when the bag is getting full because there's no like lever mechanism or feedback mechanism to tell you how full the bag is. Yeah, there's not a lot on most mowers, but I've just been spoiled with the Makita one. But anyways, long story short is the mower doesn't really slow down too much when it engages into like thicker grass or whatnot. So because it kicks it back so far, even though the bag is full, it's literally just trying to stuff it, right? Most mowers, or a lot of common mowers, when the bag gets full, you know, you can see debris start being like left around, and it's really not even that full. It's maybe like half full or 3/4 of the way full. You'll start seeing debris left around. On this one, it really tries to pack it in. That's something I did notice about this mower. All right, so obviously this is the bottom here. We did take the batteries out, so don't worry, you know, safety first. It does spin pretty well. It is, if you take a measuring stick to it, it's pretty much 21 inches, no problem. This right here is an all steel deck. This back bottom part is plastic, as you would expect. Right here is the self-propelled motor, right? And it does actually work pretty well, like we mentioned already. This right here is a very interesting, what I would call it, a striping kit or a flap, right? So it's pretty thick in terms of how thick you want it to be, and then it kind of wraps around as a full piece of like a rubberized material. It doesn't feel like it's pure rubber, but it is pretty flexible. What I did notice, I mean, it did get down to about 20-something degrees earlier this morning, but when it gets cold, it gets a little stiff. That's something I did want to point out. And it's bolted in here with 1, 2, 3 bolts here. I believe that, you know, it could have been a little bit better. I really like the one on the XML08, the Makita one, but on this one, I mean, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Just wanted to point that out. So let's talk about another weird thing going on here. There's this little white wire, and I followed it, and it really goes to, I believe, this LED light up here, and it powers it up. When I first looked down there thinking, huh, that's really random that there's a wire there. I don't know how well that's gonna hold up in the long run. All right, so now let's take a look up against another mower. So this right here is a Makita XML08, and I have a lot of usage with this mower. So when I do a maintenance cut or some place the tractor can't get to, you just do a quick cut, it works really well. I mean, it actually does pick up debris pretty well too. But anyways, this uses their 18-volt batteries. The Milwaukee one uses their 18-volt batteries. They're both 36-volt mowers. They're both built with solid metal decks, and I would say that both of them are probably close to, like, you know, what they would call commercial grade. In my opinion, I haven't seen commercial mowers or commercial companies using battery power mowers, at least not in this state. Maybe in California that may be a thing, but not here. This one also has, you know, two handles, pretty standard. The other thing to note about this one is most mowers of this type, like a self-propelled push mower regular type, will have a side discharge where you've opened up a flap, put some plastic piece in, and then discharges off to the side. As we have already covered on the Milwaukee mower, there is a rear side discharge, kind of like a Toro mower, right? You take this, put it in here, and it charges off that way. So what's the difference here? That one discharges off to the right. Most mowers of that type generally do. This mower discharges back to the left. As I said, walking, using it, not really a problem, but the difference is where the debris goes. So if you have a particular pattern that you like to mow in and you're using side discharge, that may be something to be worried about. Like build quality is pretty much you would expect from Milwaukee. That one, build quality, is what you expect from Makita. The Milwaukee one only takes 2 batteries at a time, right? Or it actually can only take 2 batteries at all, right? Right here. On other ones like this Makita one, it will take, you probably can't see it from there, but it takes 4 batteries, and you know, it's got a little switch to switch between the two. This one has, you know, battery fuel gauge for all 4 batteries right here. This one has, you know, a fuel gauge back here, as we've already seen, and that's what's really going on there. So now let's talk about a little bit about the self-propelled mechanism I was talking about earlier. So this right here, you know, safety lever here, and here is a self-propelled mechanism. So this self-propelled mechanism, right, is a lever. So you don't really have, you know, to press with your thumb any, you know, force over a long period of time. Closing your hand is not really a problem. Whereas with the Milwaukee one, obviously, you know, using it like this or putting your thumb here like this, it's going to eventually be a problem. So I'm sure the variable speed thing is nice. I do like the variable speed mechanism, but I wish they had some other way to do it, right? I do kind of see a problem with the bar. You know, you can't really use a variable speed bar pretty well. I guess in the long run, we're going to see if their Gen 2 mower still has something like this or some type of variable speed mechanism, because that's going to tell pretty much how everyone else thinks. But like I said, I would much rather just have a 2-bar system rather than that. To me, not too much important, because you can always let go of it, right? And then push it. Now let's talk about a few problems I've had with this mower. I tried to capture it on video. I think we got it twice. I'm not sure how well we're gonna use that clip, because you know there's kids running in the background. But every once in a while I'm mowing and we're going, right? And then the mower will stop, it'll disengage. The self-propelled mechanism will still keep going, but the mower blade has stopped. And a couple times, the first couple times I've seen that, I thought, maybe I let go of this a little bit, right? And then it kept happening. So one thing I did was took a Velcro zip tie, a Velcro one, tied it so that, you know, I possibly cannot let it go, and walking, bam, it turned off, right? And then, you know, pressing the power button wouldn't get, just like that, right? It wouldn't engage the mower blades. As you can see right here, 4 bars, and pretty much like this, except I kind of did it from a standstill, but usually I'm using it, it'll just turn off, and you can't push the button to re-engage it like this. And that's, you know, one of the reasons I think it's not ready for prime time. Also, earlier today, when I was using it, another thing that stopped working was the self-propelled mechanism. In this case, it does work. I didn't film myself cutting the entire acre. That would be pretty ridiculous. But you know, once in a while, the self-propelled mechanism did not work. And because of these 2 issues, and maybe even this thumb burning muscle issue, whatever you want to call it, I would say this mower is not technically ready for prime time. You know, almost all Gen 1 Milwaukee tools usually have this thing of they release Gen 2 pretty quickly, because, you know, feedback comes in and says, people don't like that, you know. But anyways, this is a thing, right? 4 bars on here, not sure if it's gonna come in the shot. 4 bars doesn't work. And what you have to do to engage that or fix that is you let go of the entire system, and then it'll work again. Earlier, when the variable speed self-propelled mechanism didn't work, no matter what I did, it didn't work. What I ended up doing was I took the batteries out, let it cool down. I just assumed it was too hot, let it cool down, you know, 15, 20 minutes later, put the batteries back in, it worked fine, but the blades are working, but the self-propelled mechanism didn't work at that time either. So it's got some weird idiosyncrasies that we got to work out, right? So anyways, other than that, this is kind of the, few reasons why I said it's not ready for prime time. Is it a good mower? That's a really tough question. This was $1,000. You could pretty much get this mower right here, the Makita mower, for around 400, as low as I've seen it go. Some people could get it for around 600, I think on average, but it was clearance out for about 400 bucks for a newer design that most people at the depot wanted. They wanted something light, but has a lot more plastic, XYZ. What I'm saying is that this mower is $1,000, okay? And $1,000 is it's a couple $100 more than a Honda gas mower. Obviously, we're trying to compare two different breeds here, but there's not too many battery-powered mowers that are close to $1,000, okay? Like I said earlier, because it's kitted with 12.0s, that might be a thing. But the point I'm trying to make here is, if they sell this in the store, it's gonna be sitting next to, let's just say, the $500 DeWalt, the $600 Makita, the $300, I don't know, whatever mowers they have there, not Murphy's, the Toros or whatever, right? I think Lawn Boy may only be at Lowe's, I don't know. But anyways, long story short is, it's gonna be $300 mowers, $400 mowers, $500, $600. There may be some $700 gas mowers there. Some of the Honda ones, the higher end ones, are like close to $600, $700. And then there's gonna be this $1,000 battery powered mower at, the depot or wherever they're going to be selling this. The point is, the average consumer is not going to be buying this mower, and only reason I think this mower exists is because Milwaukee has all of the other battery power tools for the OPE, but they don't have a mower, so it doesn't really complete the system. And I would say the mower is actually probably the most crucial part of that system, because everybody who's cutting grass needs a mower, right? So I don't see a lot of people buying this. Only people I see buying this are people who are really heavily Milwaukee Team Red people, right? You got to really believe in the Milwaukee product to buy this. Or you just have a bunch of Milwaukee batteries and you just want to get this mower even though it's $1,000. Or you just, price is not really a cost for you or an option or a factor, right? Then you would buy this mower. Is it a good mower? I would say, yeah, it's actually a pretty good mower. It's really solid. Cut quality is probably really good. The performance or the power delivery of this mower is really, really good. This mower is definitely more powerful than this Makita mower here. This probably, I would say, close to like 60, 80 volt type power. I know that's voltage doesn't really describe power, but the other Craftsman V60 mower that we used to use for a couple years, that one was actually pretty powerful. This is probably up there with that, if not just a hair more powerful. But it's got some idiosyncrasies. Would I buy this mower? We did buy this mower. I really wanted to love this mower and just use it pretty well, because we do have a lot of Milwaukee M12 batteries. Not a sponsored video. We did want to use this. Nobody sent this to us, but am I going to keep this mower? That's really hard to say. It's got this thing that, like, I feel like every other two rows, it keeps disengaging the power. I can't deal with that. Also, this mechanism here, cutting over about close to about an acre, if you include hills and stuff like that, it keeps turning it off. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. For those reasons, I probably wouldn't, keep this mower. But I did want to notice one other thing. So on most mowers, you're going to have something like this, like a safety key, right? And you put it in somewhere. This doesn't have that safety key. I don't know why they did that, but my basic logic is going to be, if someone's going to say, hey, you guys should include safety keys, their response is probably going to be, just take one of the batteries out. Take one of the batteries out, LED won't work, this won't work, you can't do anything. That's probably going to be what they're going to say. Anyways, long story short, not a lot of people use safety keys like as they're designed to be, but with toddlers and kids running around, definitely do use that. Just wanted to point that out. Anyways, like I said, this video is getting long. Should you go out and buy this mower? That's gonna you're gonna have to think about that and answer that question for yourself. Nobody can answer that for you except what you need, what price range you're looking for, and what battery platform you have. So, like I said, hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions or comments, store it in the comments below, and then we will see you guys next time. are.